Hi guys, Ali Duzette here, and it's been a long time since I've done an astrological reading on current events, and today is the day we're going to take a look at lockdowns in 2023. What do the stars have to say about it? So let me share my screen with you, and we will get going. Here we go. Slideshow. Okay. Are we facing new lockdowns and mandates? That is what everybody's talking about. I've heard a lot of rumors flying around, and I wanted to take a look at it from an astrological perspective. As a reminder, this is my little disclaimer from the Bible, that the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day, the stars utter speech, and night unto night, they show knowledge. That is Psalms 19. In Psalms 8:3, it explains that the heavens, moon, and stars have been ordained. In Genesis 1, it talks about how the lights in the firmament of the heavens are not just to divide the day from the night, but they are also for signs. Signs for what? Okay, in Job 38, it talks about, knowest thou the ordinances of heaven, which implies that there are ordinances of heaven. The Mazzaroth is the name of the Hebrew zodiac. This is the Mazzaroth. This is a mosaic found in an ancient Jewish temple. So you can see, like, there's Leo, there's Virgo, there's Libra with the two scales, there's Scorpio, the scorpion. Okay, so, and I love when modern religious scholars are like, we can't imagine why ancient Jews would have a zodiac in their temple. It's like, yeah, because God ordained the stars. Like, so silly. Anyway, okay, what are we looking at? I decided that we were going to look at the nation's solar returns as a way to analyze the upcoming season. So the solar return is when the sun returns to the exact place that it was when something was born. For a human, we call that our birthday. The true solar return may not exactly align with your birthday because it's based on the solar placement and not on your calendar date. So for example, I was born at 2:27 in the morning, and last year my solar return took place at 6:30 p.m. the day before my birthday, because that's just when the sun got back to 4 degrees of Virgo. And so the important thing is, when does the sun hit the exact point where somebody took their first breath? It's not the day. So America's birthday is counted as July 4th, 1776 at 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia. That is the moment that the first guy signed, I think, was it John Hancock? Signed his name real big at the bottom of the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, that signing is counted as the birth of America. Okay, so this is America's birth chart, and I know it looks like gobbledygook, but this is the sun. America was born at 13 degrees of Cancer. It has a moon at 27 degrees of Cancer, rising 12 degrees Sagittarius, and then that's the nodal path that I talked about in my last video of about where we are on the timeline. Okay, now what I'm going to do is walk us through a bunch of our different solar returns from the past 5-ish years, because that is going to be a really good indicator of what happened then and what happened now. I started off by looking at just 2019, because again, we're counting from July 4th to July 4th, approximately. So the lockdowns that started in March 2020 started in the birthday year of America that started in July of 2019. Okay, and so we started in 2019. We're going to take a look at 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and that brings us to America's most recent birthday, 5 years after the birthday year that started the lockdowns. And I'm just gonna give you a little preview real quick, which is that I've been seeing all these rumors, and I've just been kind of like, I don't believe it. After looking at these charts, I'm feeling a little bit different. It's true. So let's just go ahead and take a look at them real quick. And so I'll share again, and wrong thing, slideshow. Here we go. Okay, stop my video. There we go. Okay, in 2019, so this whole thing started on July 5th of 2019. Okay, so that started a new year for America. And during that year, the rising sign was in Virgo at 16 degrees of Virgo. And whatever's the rising sign on a person's solar return chart kind of gives you the flavor of your year. It kind of indicates what kind of stuff is going to happen during your year. So a Virgo rising year on your own solar return chart, like for a person, would indicate a big focus on health, a big focus on body care. I don't know, Virgo is all about care and bodies and like daily routines that affect our physical health. Okay, and I'll just give you some examples so that you understand why that is notable. Like Libra would give you a focus on your marriage, relationships, maybe getting married, or maybe getting divorced, depending, but it would be like a big relationship focus that year. Scorpio, often people report that Scorpio rising years are very miserable. They often will involve a loved one dying, but not often, but like sometimes like if a loved one's going to die, a lot of times it's when another person's rising sign is in Scorpio, or they'll have big transformations that feel very painful during a Scorpio rising year. A Cancer rising year will put you probably focused a lot on your home and family. A Taurus rising year is going to have you focusing on stability and maybe your job, maybe working, your land, this kind of thing. So all the different rising signs lend a different flavor to a year. And in 2019, we had Virgo rising. So that was a good indicator that year, from July 5th of 2019 up until July 4th-ish of 2020, we were going to have a big national focus on health. And of course, this is not unique to 2019. By any means. I mean, there's only 12 signs and America is 245 years old. So we've all been through all of these rising signs year by year, and just most people just don't even notice it, right? But this was an indicator. This year of July to July, 2019 to 2020 was going to be focused on health. The part of fortune here in Libra, oh wait, next I was going to talk about Aquarius. Okay, Aquarius was cusping the 6th house, which I thought was interesting because Aquarius is the sign that is the most focused on humanitarian efforts. And so that's kind of like it wants to save the world. Okay, so we had this situation starting in, probably late December of 2019 and then up through the beginning and first half of 2020, where we had this big focus on saving the world. And how are we going to save the world? It became the focus of everyone's everyday life, no matter whatever your beliefs were about the stuff of that year. I would bet that you believed that if people would just listen to you, it would save the world, right? Like if you love masks and you really feel like they help, then you're probably coming from a space of, if everybody would just mask, it would save everyone, solve all the problems. At the same time, all the people that don't like masking are saying, man, if everyone just stopped masking, it would just save the world and solve all the problems, right? So kind of everybody's every single day was focused on how are we going to save the world? And again, that's not unique to that year, but the exact flavor of this year, I think, is really well indicated by this exact chart, because every chart is going to be different, and you're going to see that by the end of this presentation. I'll give you the sneak peek. This year's star chart actually aligns very closely with the 2019 chart. And so that is what kind of gave me a double take, because I've been sitting here thinking, I don't really think the mandates are coming back. It seems like all the same people freaking out about that are a lot of the same people that were freaking out about a lot of stuff that never happened in the past. So I'm like, I don't know, but there are a lot of key similarities between this 2019 chart and the 2023 chart, and we're going to dig into it in a few minutes. But this placement right here, part of fortune in Libra in 2nd, I thought that was a really good representation of how we started to have the stimulus checks to keep people going, trying to keep everything as balanced as possible as far as resources were concerned, even when things were shut down. This is really interesting placement. Saturn exact the south node and conjunct Pluto. This is really interesting because Pluto deals with death and rebirth. Saturn deals with our karma, like what do we need to pay for as a nation, because it's like a national chart. And this was the focus of our destiny, was for us to start paying for something. Like, what are we paying for? I think everybody's going to have a different opinion on what exactly that is. But that year from 2019 to 2020 was kicking off some big karmic something where we have to pay for something with a big death and rebirth. And it's opposing the sun in the 10th house of the economy. And I think that we can see how that played out. Like we really like had a big death and rebirth of our economy and a big focus on that. This is the North Node in the house of large groups of people. And we had a big focus on what are we going to do with large groups of people, right? And that was our destiny, was to obsess with that and to have that North Node in Cancer. What are we going to do with large groups of people? We're going to tell them to stay home. Cancer is the boss of the home. And so I just think that is such a great I don't know, indicator of how it all turned out. Now, notably in 2019, the moon was here at oh my gosh, at 21 degrees of Leo in the 12th house. What that means, okay, the moon deals with like the populace on a national chart. Like the sun would be like the president and like our leaders, and then the moon is like the people. And so to have the people in the 12th house and our national emotions in the 12th house. The 12th house is the stuff you don't even know that you don't know. And I think this is a really accurate representation of the entire year between July 5th, 2019 to July 4th of 2020. Nobody knew, like we didn't even know what we didn't know. And so so I have people in my life that were very, very into quarantining and so forth. And oh man, this is like such a long story. Maybe I shouldn't even tell it. But the story that I wanted to tell is that man, I was the first one in my own neighborhood to tell everybody that my kids were staying home. And so I was the first one to start the whole quarantining process. I knew that masks would not work because of science, but I did feel like it was smarter to keep them home because we didn't know what we didn't know. And then it was true that as the science came out, I let my kids out to play. I let them play with neighbors. We got back to normal life well before most people did, because I am very aligned with, modern research, in my opinion. And I know that there's lots of people that would disagree with my choices, but the whole point of talking about that is that we didn't know what we didn't know. I think everybody at the beginning of March of 2020, like we just didn't know. And so people acted out of what they did know, knowing that they didn't know. And so we're going to come back to that in a little bit as we work through the next couple of charts, but this is an important thing that is going to come into play this coming year. The difference between 2019 and 2023, one big change is that the moon is no longer going to be in the house of what we don't know. So we'll come back to that. Okay, I was just going to skip ahead between 2019 and 2023, but then I thought, no, we have to kind of take a look at the whole journey and then put it all together. So this is the solar return of 2020, July 4th of 2020. And this was a Scorpio rising year. And I think that Scorpio deals with death and rebirth. And I think it is safe to say that for most people between 2020 and 2021, July to July, a lot of people felt a lot of death. I mean, like truly many people died. A lot of us knew people that died. There was a big obsession with death as a nation, like the big obsession with body counts and stuff like that. And then, like on a physical health level, there was that, but then there was also a bunch of transformation, and Scorpio deals with transformation. It was around this time that lockdown started to lift up, right? Towards the end of this solar year, towards the end of, I feel like things really started lifting up in probably like May of 2021. I had a baby in May of 2021. And I remember that I was forced to mask in the hospital, but I was allowed to give birth without my mask on, or rather I didn't put on my mask and they didn't make me do it, but like there's a big sign that was like, you have to wear a mask to give birth. But anyway, so May, June, July, so we had this big transformation. But there was a lot of suppression and limitation, and yeah, a lot of focus on who is dying, a lot of death oriented focus. But okay, this is the second house of money. This deals with money and our personal resources. And that year we had the South Node and the moon and Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. And so what is this indicating? All in Virgo. oh, sorry, I'm sorry, this is Capricorn. All in Capricorn. Capricorn deals with the economy. Here we have death and rebirth. Here we have our karmic comeuppance and like, what do we have to pay for? What bad stuff have we done that we have to reap the rewards from that? Or the good stuff that we've done, how are we going to reap the good rewards? Right next to each other, yeah, yikes. Next to Jupiter, which expands everything. And look how tight that is, 23 to 24 degrees. And then this is the moon. And that's like our national feelings and everything. And then the South Node, which is the bottom side of our national destiny, I guess you could say, for the year. So our national destiny for that year from 2020 to 2021 was to witness some serious death and rebirth around our money, economy, resources. This is kind of like on a spiritual level, whatever was happening to us as a nation and to individuals was linking back to what do we as a group and we as individuals have to pay for? You know, it's just the law of cause and effect. Like, what have we caused in the past and how are we going to see the effects from that? We're reaping the harvest. Okay, that's all it is. It's just we have to reap the harvest of whatever we've sown. So, and this is intercepted. And I think a lot of people can verify that work that year felt intercepted. Intercepted just means it's like trapped. Do you see that there's this line right here, this line right here of the second house, and then this green section is fully inside and it's like fully trapped. So it's kind of like all of our focus on money and getting ahead and just like expansion and feeling secure in our land and space. It's like, we worked so hard and did we really feel safe? And I think, I mean, it's a different thing person to person, but I think in general, people did not feel safe. I think generally speaking, there was not a big feeling of robust safety and security during that year. I think there were a lot of questions, a lot of stresses, a lot of wondering, a lot of focus on like, will somebody die? A lot of, and of course there were, I don't know, just people being forced to work from home, do school from home, all this kind of thing, which, you know, there's pros and cons of that, but still very intense. And so all of this stuff makes this big blue triangle with Virgo, the midheaven in Virgo, which is going to be an obsession with health. And right here is going to be unexpected health-related and money-related situations that come by surprise. And I think that as a nation in general, we did see that very strongly. This all opposes the sun. The sun, remember, the sun, America's sun is always going to be 13 degrees of Cancer. That doesn't change in a solar return chart, but what changes is where the sun is. And so this was in the 8th house of big transformation. And the sun was next to Mercury retrograde. And I think we did see a big focus on communication and a real rise in the control of communication and the transformation of communication. Who is allowed to speak? What are they allowed to say? Who's allowed to hear it? Okay, so that is some of the stuff that was going on from 2020 to July of 2021. And I'll just mention, this is from Time Passages. I think it's also called Astrographs. And I have 2 different astrological softwares, and it was just easier for me to run the solar return charts through Time Passages, even though I think this is an ugly chart and I prefer Astro Gold. Okay, this is the solar return from 2021 and then to 2022. And some big stuff here that I thought was really interesting was we had Aquarius rising. So and this is conjunct our natal moon. So there was a big drive in 2021 starting in July for us to just get back to who we actually are. Can we get back to who we really are? Because it comes back to our natal moon as a nation is at 27 degrees of Aquarius. So having our rising there is going to be like, okay, let's get back to ourselves now. Okay, we had Jupiter at 1 degrees of Pisces and Neptune at 23 degrees of Pisces. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, that's indicating a lot of delusion and a lot of deception in the body politic. This is the house of the body. This is the house of like the personality of a nation when you're looking at a national chart. And no matter what you feel like happened in 2020, as far as like the 2020 election, that was so hotly debated. I guarantee that whatever you feel actually happened, you believe that a lot of other people have been deceived about what actually happened. Like whether or not you believe whoever won, you think the people that disagree with you are deluded. And so that is what this is talking about, is just a lot of confusion, delusion about what is going on in the body politic. That is my opinion. We had the moon conjunct Uranus in the third house, which is going to be a big focus on money and transportation and the supply chain. This one, so we talked about in 2020, we had this big focus right here. This is like your land. This is like your home. Working from home would be here because it's Capricorn in the house of your home. Capricorn is the job guy. House number 2 is where do you live? So you're going to work in where you live. Here, this is more supply chain because the third house deals more with transportation. And so this one has more of a supply chain flavor than the year prior to that. And I think that we did indeed see that focus on supply chain issues. Okay, other things that I want to talk about. Okay, let's get it. Okay, this is the solar return. Okay, yeah, solar return from 2022. So this is the past year. Okay, a little bit over a year ago was this. So this is almost the most recent one. Of course, we just had a solar return that just happened in July, but this is from the past year. And okay, and I think that this chart is a good reflection of actually what happened last year, which was we had rising Gemini, which is a big focus on being social, communicating, meeting with friends, going out and about. This is little travel. This would be going to the grocery store or going on like an afternoon trip or a 3-day vacation in maybe a day's drive away, versus Sagittarius deals with like giant travel, like if you're going to spend 3 months in India. So this is going to be like trips, like going around and visiting people. And we did that. We've had a lot of freedom to go and talk with people and visit with people and engage in commerce. Venus right here is close to the ascendant. So just a lot of focus on kind of just what we would consider normal life, being social, being able to go out and about, being able to spend your money. This moon was in Virgo. So that's telling me that we still have kind of like an elevated health awareness, which makes sense and I think has been true. But does that health awareness, so here, I'll just show you. This is the red line between the moon, our health awareness as a nation, versus our ascendant that wants us to like get out, get going, go make some friends, go out to dinner. We have this opposition right here with Neptune in Pisces. And what was the other one that I noticed? Oh yeah, that's right. The sun is in the second house. And so what that tells me is just that, yeah, we've cared about our health, like in general. I think everyone in America is much more health attuned than we were in 2018. People notice more if you have a little cold. People notice more if you sneeze or blow your nose. And there is that elevated health awareness. But at the same time, this sun in the second house is telling us like, we gotta make some money. We gotta care about our resources, and that might be more important than our health fears. And this is telling us it's time to get out and play. We gotta go meet with friends. All of this stuff right here is in the 11th house of hanging out with your friends, and that's Jupiter. That's expansive, good luck. Part of fortune is like, where is our treasure? Aries gets new things started. Chiron is going to help us find mastery and wounding, but also mastery in the area of making friends, going out on the town, going places, and doing stuff. And so to me, I look at this chart and it's like, oh yeah, this is a chart that says it's time to be normal, guys. Like, we just got to be normal. We might have some health related fears, but it's really time to be normal now. Okay, and that brings us to this year, which I could run through. Astro Gold, as you can see, a much higher quality of chart that is easier to read. Okay, this year we have rising Virgo again, just like 2019. We have the moon in 6th and Aquarius is on the cusp again. So remember in 2019, and I'm going to show you a side-by-side graph in a minute, or side-by-side charts, but we had the moon over here in the 12th house of we don't know what we don't know. And so having the moon over there gave everyone some like fear and questioning and feeling like we don't know what's going on. So we're going to let some stuff happen, because what else are we going to do? We don't understand what's happening. We don't have all this whole story. This time, that is not the case. This time, the moon is in the 6th house with everybody, like that same quality of confusion is not going to exist. That is my opinion. I don't think we're going to find that so many of us feel confused about what's going on. I think that people are going to be very fixated on what is going on as a matter of everyday life. What's going on every single day, and whatever that will mean, I don't know what that will mean. But if there were to be things like lockdowns and mandates again, there's going to be a very different flavor, because people are not going to be caught in that I don't know what I don't know. This time they kind of feel pretty sure that they know what they know. Okay, this is really interesting. This is a Taurus Scorpio interception, which is going to tell me that we may feel like our monetary resources are trapped. And I hope not. And I'm doing the 30 Days of Money Miracles challenge on my channel as well, if you want to do that, where we're kind of healing our money relationships. But in general, I think that many Americans will find that, okay, this Vesta right here next to the midheaven, they will be busy, trying to make ends meet, and it may still feel like it is not enough. And I think, again, this is like the overall general reading for all of the humans, but like on an individual level, that does not have to be true for you. But on a general level, I think what we're going to see is people feeling so overwhelmed because there are so many different things going on that they all have to juggle, and feeling like, how are they going to catch up? Like how, and I think that that is going to be an unfun placement. Interestingly, this, do you see that dot? It has no lines to it. That Vesta is not aspecting anything. So that's pretty interesting. Okay. The nodal path right now as a nation, our nodes are in Libra and Aries, which is prompting all of us to kind of be more focused on ourselves than on keeping the peace. Like, what do I need more than what is going to keep everybody happy? But this year still has that Scorpio to Taurus nodal path on a national level. So I think we can expect to see some more hidden agendas coming to light. And I've done a lot of videos on that Scorpio to Taurus nodal path. I called it the zombie apocalypse when it first showed up. So if you want to know more about that and how it's going to affect the year, I would go look at the zombie apocalypse video. But okay, the nodal path, yeah, we're at the tail end of that resource focus. So I think we're going to see some hidden agendas coming to life. I think we're going to see a big focus still on financial stability as a nation, and then on a personal level as well. Okay. This year, the sun is in the 11th house, which is going to give us a big focus on groups of people. How are we interacting with large groups of people? Oh boy. And having the sun right next to Mercury is going to give us a big focus on how are we communicating with people. Remember that the sun represents our leaders. So there's going to be a big leader focus on communication. I think we can probably expect to see more, am I allowed to say it, censorship? And I think we're going to see a lot more, I don't know, just focus on what kind of things people are allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say, especially in a public space, because this is the house of public spaces. This is Juno, and this link to Juno is going to give us a big emphasis on, okay, how do I put it? So the national focus on who gets to speak and who they get to say things to and what they get to talk about, this is going to come back to money. And how will your free speech affect how people spend their money? How is your free speech going to affect how people ally with things? Okay, so this comes down to, you see this blue line from these guys down here to Saturn in the 7th house. Saturn, again, deals with the law of the harvest. As you sow, so shall you reap. And in the 7th house, that's going to be a big focus. We're going to have to reap our rewards when it comes to our alliances. On a national chart, who are we? Like, what are our alliances? It's like actual nations. We may reap some rewards for however we have interacted with other nations on a giant scale. But also, as I was running this chart, I thought, it's really interesting. I should have grabbed a screenshot, but like big pharma, like pharmaceutical companies, basically run the show. Like, they donate tons of money to many candidates on both sides of the aisle, and people on all sides of the aisle are very invested in staying on the good side of these pharmaceutical companies because they pay for everything. Pharmaceutical companies also basically own every single news station, and as you can see, because of all of the ads for pharmaceuticals on the news, so you can never trust that the news are giving you accurate information about pharmaceutical stuff. And so, I don't know, I think that we're going to see, I don't know, these blue lines right here just tell me, like, we're going to have this obsession with controlling speech, especially in public spaces. And why? It's going to be to protect money and our alliances. With whom? It's going to be our overseas alliances, like our international allies, and then like our corporate allies too, is going to be my guess. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Okay, the fact that it is in retrograde did indicate to me that I think that the more they try to buckle down on censorship, the more it's actually going to backfire on them, but they will still try it. Like, it will, so hooray. Okay, so this year, okay, we have to talk about this. So last time in 2019, the moon was in this 12th house right here. And this year we have Venus, Mars, and Pallas in the 12th house instead. So this is the house of what you don't know, you don't know. But Pallas in here, I always think of her as kind of a conspiracy theorist. And she kind of thinks, she's like a strategic thinker. She's Athena in Greek mythology. And she's exact Mars. So I think we're going to see a lot of people concluding that they understand what is going on, fairly or unfairly, and feeling quite aggravated about it and ready to get aggressive. Mars is very, very aggressive. And so this little placement right here with them all right together just tells me, I think that people, no matter what you think is going on, in the next year, all the different things that will show up as we turn our focus to health, as we turn our focus to what are our everyday health habits that we're doing every single day, as the nation focuses on that, no matter what you believe is appropriate, whether you support lockdowns or you oppose them, if you love masks or you hate them, everyone in general, generally speaking, is going to feel like they have a much greater grasp on what's going on, and they may feel very aggressive about it. Now, I hadn't noticed this before, but this is actually making a yod, which is called the finger of God, with Neptune. So that's this green triangle shape right here, connected by this blue line. So we have Neptune and Pluto on the two corners of that, pointing up to this. So that just tells me that I think there's going to be a lot of delusional confusion about who is on who's on your side and who is not on your side. I think a lot of people, I think this has been really clear over the past couple of years. Basically, I think every political leader and every corporate leader has more or less betrayed their constituents. Like, you can make a case for that for anybody, you can make a case for all of them having failed whoever they said they would not fail. Nobody has succeeded at anything that they promised on any side of the aisle. But I think there's going to be some delusional belief about who is on our side, and that will not be true in general. Again, this is like general stuff. And then over here, I'm feeling like death and rebirth, particularly in the areas of what we're creating. This is also going to deal with the youth of the nation. So this will be like teenagers. As I'm talking about it, I'm like, could we see rioting teenagers? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But that would fit into this, fit into that. And what this is telling us is that this is going to be a big focal thing, the aggression that we feel because we think we understand things that may not be understandable, actually, because it is in the 12th house. We will think that we understand more than we do, including me. I'll just say, haha, here I am analyzing all this stuff. And the big conclusion is you think you know more than you know. But like, yes, it's true. For all of us, we will think we know more than we know. We look at the bisection of the yod. So we're looking at 27 degrees of Aquarius, which actually happens to be our natal moon, which is not on this chart, but just trust me on that. 27 degrees of Aquarius is how we get out of this trap of death and rebirth, delusion, and getting aggressive about things that we think we understand, but we probably don't understand. We have to get back to our soul as a nation. Going back to, I mean, geez, my default interpretation would be like getting back to the sentiments that led to 1776, like July 4th, 1776, getting familiar with the actual Declaration of Independence, the original Constitution as written, all of that kind of thing. That is what I would say is the answer here. We got to get out of whatever's going on in our minds and just focus on the true basics of, you know, America's natality. Okay. Now, okay, yes. So everybody's going to feel like another thing that this indicates is that everyone's going to feel like their own opinions about what's going on are the true ones. Everyone else is wrong, and my opinion is right. And so the more that we feel like that, the more aggression and conflict it may create, which is not to say that that's wrong, especially because right now the North Node is in Aries. We have Chiron going through Aries, and we have the part of fortune in Aries. And so actually the part of fortune is probably not in Aries today, but it was for this chart. And the North Node is in Aries today. But right now we are heading into a time of greater conflict. But it's just something to be very aware of. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to take a clock like this and use it, I mean, as a clock, really. And so there are a bunch of different calculations that I'm familiar with. And I found, I mean, one of them I'm not legally allowed to divulge, which is fine. But another one that I found counts from the ascendant, and then each dot is a day, you know, so that's, so each color has 30 little dots in it. They're 30 degrees per. And so each one is like about the length of a month. So you would start from the ascendant, and then so that would be like July 4th, and then this would be like August 4th, and this would be like September 4th. So we would be like right about here right now. Actually, the South Node right now would be going off, and then here would be like October 4th, November 4th, December 4th. So that puts this at like late November, Thanksgiving zone, Pluto triggering. And then in December, having our moon trigger. And when a planet triggers on a clock like this, you can just expect the themes of that planet to show up on a national level for a national chart. So I'm thinking between late November to mid-December, we may have some big clues showing up to what is the real theme of this year? What are we really going to be transforming this year? Now, all of this fun stuff, according to that calculation, that starts with this in July, that puts this in what, like December-ish, January-ish. So we're looking at the first 3 months of the year, having some karmic comeuppance, having to face wherever we have been delusional about things, and then dealing with possibly some conflicts, looking about in the February zone. I don't know what that would look like. I would guess, I don't know. I mean, like, you remember the big conflicts that we all had during 2020, where people are going to town on Facebook, ranting about their different beliefs about different stuff and so on. Okay, so that timeline wise, according to one person's calculation that starts from this point, we could expect the first 3 months of the year to be, I don't know, kind of full of a little bit of conflict and maybe a big focus on money and feeling like money is out of grasp as a nation. And then more fixation on censorship and stuff that would probably trigger in May-ish. And then this puts, according to this calculation, puts this kind of I know what's going on and you don't fixation in in June of 2024. So that is one person's way to break down the chart. One thing about this chart is that the sun is over here in Cancer and the moon is over here in Aquarius, and they have this green in conjunct line. And what that just tells me is that the leaders of the nation are going to be very out of touch with the emotions of the people. And so there's going to be a big disconnect between what the average person is feeling and wanting and what the leaders think that the average person is feeling and wanting. Okay, so this year we have this grand trine right here. That's this blue triangle that goes like this with Vesta at the top. Well, the midheaven at the top actually, but the midheaven is conjunct Vesta, and then Pluto down here and Ceres down here. And what that indicates to me is that we are probably going to work really hard to get ahead in terms of communication, social relationships, commerce, but it may feel like no matter how much we try, we're having to deal with a death and rebirth, a big transformation of something. And this is going to be a big focus on self-care, especially in the home. The second house deals with your house and your home, and so the land that you are on. And so I would expect that we're going to feel a real drive to focus on our own home land, like the land where your house is. You're going to work really hard and feel very busy, feel very scattered. This is a very scattered energy as a nation. The nation itself will feel like it has scattered energy. But this is going to lead to a big transformation that is probably not going to be fun, because Pluto is not really known for being fun. So we will keep an eye on that. And again, that rising Virgo is going to be a big focus on health. So can we expect lockdowns over the winter? I'm sure it depends place to place. You know, some places have always been more free than other places during this whole situation, but there's a lot of similar star patterns between now and 2019. So this is the 2019 chart from Astrograph, and that's Virgo. And here's Virgo, right? Both. So you can see that the houses are lining up. Here's the 6th house with a focus on humanitarianism in how we act every single day, and that there's Aquarius over the 6th house. Oh man, I had all of these things that I wanted to talk about in this, but maybe I did it in the next screen. Okay, yeah, so in 2019, the moon was in the 12th house of what we didn't know, and in 2020, it's going to be down here, giving us a lot more confidence that we do know. And this is going to give us a lot more confidence that we do know what's going on and can lead to aggression. And I think one important thing about the 12th house is that the 12th house is kind of delusional. I mean, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but like it's just living in an ethereal space. And so the stuff in here, we're going to have a lot of confidence that's not really earned. And so we just have to keep an eye on that. One thing that I thought was really interesting is that this right here is Chiron at 5 degrees of Aries in the 7th house. This was in 2019, which is telling us we're going to see some big wounding around 5 degrees of Aries type stuff in our personal relationships. That's going to be aggression in our relationships, disagreements that we're not going to back down from in our relationships. And I think we did see that on a one-on-one level in particular. I think a lot of people had relationships break down because of disagreements about lockdowns, mandates, all of that kind of thing. Now this year, this is the same exact spot on the chart, 5 degrees of Aries. Look, 5 degrees of Aries. And oh my gosh, this is 56 minutes. This is 55 minutes. This year, that is our part of fortune, is to go back. All the stuff that was our deepest wound, this year we're called to step into that and find our treasure in that and use it to transform ourselves and the nation. So what is that going to look like? I don't know, but I feel like this is very, very important and very key. Got to revisit those old relationships. Maybe not in real life, like maybe you don't have to go hang out with the person that disowned you because they disagreed with you. Maybe you don't have to go issue apologies or accept apologies or ask for an apology. Like, I don't know that this has to be an in-person situation that we deal with, but it would not surprise me if we had a lot of opportunities to revisit the relationships that wounded us in 2019, 2020. I don't know. I think that the experiences that we had with people we cared about that hurt us in 2020, this year is going to give us the opportunity to revisit that, exercise forgiveness, exercise compassion and understanding, and allow us to transform ourselves and find mastery of ourselves through the transformative process that happens this year. Okay, so am I saying there's going to be a lockdown? No, I'm not saying that. I am saying that we're heading into a time period that looks remarkably similar to the 2019-2020 period, during which we did see lockdowns. Okay, so we are seeing a really similar layout, but it does have some key differences on it. There is a lot, I don't know, there's a lot the same and a lot different. So I think that we may be experiencing a lot of the same impulses as a nation, but the people have changed. And remember that this year, the sun is very out of tune with the moon. The sun doesn't get that the people have changed. If the sun still thinks that the moon is over here, I don't know what I don't know, and the sun still thinks that it can control people from a space of I don't know what I don't know, the sun is wrong about that, because the people are different now. Okay, what can you do about this? Like, I hope that my intention is never to like make anybody feel fear. I don't think that there's anything to be afraid of. Looking at the 2023 solar return chart, I'm going to recommend prioritizing work and the accumulation of resources. And I'm saying this because of the North Node and Jupiter here in Taurus. And this is the 9th house, our spiritual calling to focus on the accumulation of resources. Remember that if you are pretty sure that you know what's really going on, then you are probably not very accurate. I think that the only way that we can be accurate in this climate is to recognize that we don't have all the answers. Like, we don't know anything. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. And understanding that is the only thing that can make us accurate, is knowing that we could be wrong and being open about that. That is the only way to be accurate in this kind of climate when Pallas is in the 12th house like this. Remember that we may find ourselves quick to anger based on other people thinking that we are wrong, and we think, well, no, you're the one that's wrong. I know what's really going on. I'm going to recommend that rather than get offended or feeling like we have to defend what we believe or stuff like that, that we take our deep breaths and recognize that everyone is coming from a different perspective, and no one person has all the answers, right? So we just need to be slow to anger. This is not to say that righteous anger is not a thing, and I think there's appropriate times for anger and appropriate times for conflict. What I'm saying is, if you're going to engage in conflict, be sure that you're engaging in righteous conflict and not knee-jerk reactions. And I don't know, just be wise about it. And if you're a believer, go pray about it. I mean, you are allowed to pray about every Facebook comment that you leave and say, God, is this the right thing to say? Should I be interacting with this person's post? Should I be commenting here? Like, you are allowed to ask that, and you are qualified to get an answer on that. And so just be wise about how you interact with other people, because there's going to be a lot of anger on a large scale that is directed towards people that we perceive as disagreeing with us. But we will not have all the answers ourselves. Everyone will think they have all the answers, and no one will really have even close to all the answers. Okay, Now this Pluto is opposite from the black moon. Okay, you see that red line? What that is telling me, the black moon deals with our personal boundaries. And so the black moon is going to be what comes into play for both ends of this. This is when the person says, you are not allowed to interact with me unless you're wearing a mask. That is Black Moon Lilith. And then Black Moon Lilith is also the one that says, I'm sorry, but I'm not willing to wear a mask to make you more comfortable. Okay, so can you see that Black Moon Lilith governs both sides of the coin with personal boundaries and mandates and that kind of thing. And it's across from Pluto, so that they're kind of like tied together, and there's going to be a lot of tension there. Pluto deals with death and rebirth. When I looked at this, I thought, okay, individuals establishing their personal boundaries around lockdown type of situations in public. Okay, this is the house of dealing with large groups of people. If you are a person there establishing your personal boundaries, your personal boundary is you want everybody to mask if they are going to interact with you. Or your personal boundary is I'm not going to mask and you better deal with it. Whatever your boundary is, trying to enforce it in a large group of people that disagree with you may well lead to some very negative experiences. That is what I'm coming away from with this, is that this whole chart does look like there could be some lockdown mandate stuff going on. And again, I think that in the long term, it will backfire, but in the short term, it does look to me like it would not be fun to be the one that says no in whatever situation that you find yourself as the one that disagrees. No, again, no matter how you feel about anything, if you disagree with the group that you are in, it may be deeply unfun and cause a lot of conflict. That is that. Okay. Now, I felt like we couldn't really just talk about 2023 without taking a look ahead at 2024. We know that America's birthday chart is going to be run out of Washington, D.C. So I figured, okay, it's safe to run America's birthday chart for 2024, assuming America still exists by then, which I think it shall. And so we're going to have another rising Scorpio year, just like the year from 2020 to 2021. Big transformation, and the difference here is that the sun is also going to be in the 8th house, which is Scorpio's house. This placement and the moon is going to be in the 8th house as well. This tells me that we're going to see big transformations among our leadership, big transformations among the population itself, like the people, the populace of the United States. We're going to see some big changes in I don't know. The sky's the limit. I mean, we'll just see what kind of giant transformations come up, but I would expect that by July 4th of 2025, we will say, oh my gosh, things are really different than they were in 2023. And I think we'll all look back and be like, holy cow, look at how much stuff happened in between. Now, depending on certain people's calculations, again, the clock of this chart has Pluto triggering about the same time as election season, because remember, we're going to have a big election, the presidential election, during this solar return. And according to some calculations, this Pluto is going to trigger, and that's going to be death and rebirth in our election process. What will that look like? I don't know. It would definitely not surprise me if there is a massive amount of conflict, once again, about the nature of election season this time, where people on every single side are going to be debating on if the election was accurate, if it was appropriate, come on, what's the word? Like voter fraud. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of focus on that. And this is the house of communication, a lot of talk about that. That would be my guess. The North Node will be in Aries. And again, the North Node is like our destiny as nation, and Aries is the warrior. And so to me, this is just looking like a chart of some real transformation that is linked to some real conflict on an internal populace level in the United States. And so again, this is not the first time that we've had this nodal path. This is not the first time that we've seen any of these things individually. But every single chart is different. So this will be unique to 2024, but you've lived through plenty of Scorpio rising years. You've lived through at least one other Libra to Aries axis nodal path. If you're over 18, you have. So you've experienced echoes of these things before, but it's kind of like it's kind of like puzzle pieces, right? Every single part of the chart is like a puzzle piece. And so, you have your little death and rebirth in the house of finances this time, and you have your little nodal path to Sagittarius this time, and you put all the pieces together and it makes this path. It makes the year what it is, the unique flavors that it has. Does that make any sense? So you have seen all the different pieces of this puzzle in different places for much of your life. I mean, that's not true for everything. Like Pluto moves extremely slowly. So you have not seen all the iterations of Pluto in your life, but you have for Jupiter. You have for probably Saturn if you're over the age of 30. You've seen them all for the moon. You've seen them all for the sun. You've seen all the rising signs. But every year is different because every year takes all those puzzle pieces and puts them together in a new way that's unique to that year. And again, that's true for on a personal level. Like you can get your own solar return read and get your map for your year and how it's going to play out for you personally. But then this was kind of like the overarching, what are we looking at on a national scale? So okay, I hope that was helpful to you. I do want to remind you, I'm doing my 30 Days of Money Miracles challenge. You're just here on YouTube, so if you hit subscribe, then you're going to get a bunch of notifications that I have a bunch of videos about money coming out for the month of September, but I just felt compelled to get those out there. And after looking at these charts, I just looked at them this morning. I made this presentation about an hour ago because I was just like, man, I really do want to see what's going on. But anyway, come and hang out. Come join me on Facebook. Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette is the Facebook group. We do a lot of fun stuff in there. We're always learning about very cool things and healing our hearts, because really all of the stuff that's going on in the stars is an invitation. Okay, if we go back to the very beginning of this presentation where I talked about the link with the Holy Bible and how the stars act as signs. I've said this before, but the wise men followed stars. We say they were astronomers, and I think that's ridiculous, because do you think they were qualified to work at NASA? They were looking at the symbolic meaning of the stars. They were astrologers in today's terminology. They were astronomers back then because that's, I don't know, just because, but like by today's standards, they're astrologers, not astronomers. They were reading the symbolic meaning of the stars and looking up at the stars and saying, that configuration of stars indicates that Christ is born. And then they followed the stars, right? And so anyway, I just feel like following the movement of the stars is a great way to help us all figure out what we need to heal in ourselves to prepare for the things that are coming next, right? And then the nice thing is that the things we need to do to prepare are the same every day. You actually don't need to know anything about the stars to know what to do. What do? You have to repair the things that you've done wrong in the past. You might call it repentance from a religious perspective, but like you got to clearing out your past karma, whatever. You've got to make restitution for the things you've done wrong. You've got to align your mind and your heart with the way that reality really works. You have to have an accurate understanding of the universe and how it works, which to me also goes along with repentance. We let go of old ways of thinking that are not true, and we step into true ways of thinking. And when we do, we unlock new blessings from our Father in heaven. I don't know. You don't need to know all this to know what to do. You know what to do. Get yourself right with God. That's all you got to do. Okay. But then when it comes down to the specifics, I don't know. There's a lot of things that, I don't know. Sometimes it helps to have a little help. So I guess this is where I should mention aliduzetclasses.com. If you're not signed up in there, I do recommend it. I have a bunch of basically podcasts about me talking about different stuff that helps you heal your life, and you can just listen to it in the background while you fold your laundry or do your life. And so that is very fun and easy. And I hope you do go check it out. Go sign up for the free offerings, and I think that you will love them. And anyway, let me know what you think about this lockdown situation and I don't know, all the stuff that we talked about. I'll be very interested to see what insights you had while listening to this. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.